Hi guys, it's Jacob from Stringbuzz here, stringbuzzworld.org being the music journalism site, links are in the description down below. And I know it's been a little while since I've actually posted anything on the YouTube channel. I'm actually a little bit ill at the moment, you can probably still tell by my voice. But anyways, I wanted to present to you Stringbuzz's top 20 worst songs of the year 2016. Some people might say this is a little bit early, that we still got a good half a month or so of bad music to still come out. But I have to disagree with that. I've heard quite enough, and this list will hopefully prove that to you really. As usual, I'm going to refer to the original article that was posted to stringbuzzworld.org, just to give you something a bit more concentrated. So if you keep seeing me glare over here or glare to the side of you, that's not because I'm not concentrating, it's actually because I'm reading it off to you. So a lot has happened this year, as you probably all already know. For the majority of us, this has been the worst year we've had so far on this green earth. And for me, I'd have to agree with that sentiment. However, the site was birthed this year, and we've had a lot of people to be thankful for, especially through this Christmas period. But referring back to the opening of two sentences of this segment, I'm going to concentrate on those who have made 2016 that little bit worse for a lot of us, at least for me anyway as a music journalist. So here are Stringbuzz's top 20 worst songs of the year. I'd say I hope you enjoy, but this is more of a take note and be careful type of thing. Anyways, let's start with the honourable mentions. So starting with our first honourable mention, it has to be Fast Car by Jonas Blue featuring Dakota. Woefully dull track that sucks all the life out of its source material, Fast Car is an absolute acoustic classic, all about the strife Tracy went through when growing up and about the hope she had for her future. It's, you know, everybody knows the original, everybody could probably guess the chord progression of the original. It's fairly simplistic now, but it's ingrained in everyone's head. But what Jonas Blue clearly took from it was, oh, it must be a track about love or something like that, and then proceeded to make the dullest summer vibe influenced sleeper house track imaginable. It's repetitive, Dakota's feature is bland and redundant, its form is terrible, the synth melody is an insult to the original progression, and it's just a blatant cash grab on the re-emerging popularity of Chapman's greatest hit. Very lucky not to feature on the actual list. Obviously I think this charted fairly well, but it only charted after the original had recharted about last year or so, just because this song came out much earlier in the year, so obviously they're riding off the original popularity. So our second and final honourable mention has to go to Cognitive Contortions by Animals as Leaders, and this one pains me ever so deeply. I'm a huge fan of Animals as Leaders, and I've been looking forward to this album for well over a year now. In fact, probably about 2 years since The Joy of Motion was released. I was pumped for this album to come out next. It's what happens when you put theory in front of quality, and I think this track sums the whole album up perfectly. Sure, it's technical as hell, but so were the tracks on their last album and the EPs before that. We get that they are great with instruments, but this barely even resembles a song. It's just clunky, disjointed, the mixing makes a kit sound like 14 kick drums put into one, and it's just not catchy at all. At least Physical Education and Tooth and Claw were catchy with decent melodies, but this is just difficult to listen to. They need to rein it back and stop the self-indulgence and start making real songs again. So coming in at number 20 on this list, we have Not Easy by Alex the Kid, Ex-Ambassadors, El King and Wiz Khalifa. Hopefully I pronounced all those artists right. If I wasn't referring to the original article, I definitely would be able to remember any of them. So I think the feature list on this track really says it all to me. Too many features, too many people from different genres, and not a single one of these people is a country/folk singer. Yet it's a country/folk song. I mean, the song is mighty dull throughout its runtime, never really going anywhere, but Wiz Khalifa's verse at the end is particularly excruciating. His lyrics are horrifically bad, and actually I'm going to quote some for you. So we started small and conquered it all, came from nothing, but we knew we would ball. Yeah, that's in a country/folk track. It doesn't really fit too well, does it? His feature is a whopping 8 lines long, 20 seconds long if you prefer a timescale, and the saying too many chefs ruin the broth really rings, you know, pretty true here. I don't know whether that's a British saying, hopefully it's a global saying, so you get what I mean. But even the rest of the acts on this track really blew it. The melodies are monotonous, the lyrics in that chorus are just so unbelievably mindless, and the whole track is clearly rushed and incomplete. It's a terrible track. At number 19, we have #Worst by the Section Boys featuring Skepta. Now, I've never really had a problem with grime going into this year. I used to love listening to Kano and Wiley when I was hitting that strange age of teenagehood where your whole music taste flips to another side. But this year, grime has been completely lost on me. These guys sum that up perfectly. All of the Section Boys are terrible rappers individually, and I think we get that now. But having Skepta on your track, who is a decent rapper, really showed them up even further. Characterless, charismaless, and completely lacking any personality, this track is a complete waste of time. The lyrics are cringy, squad-style phrases that are used in this song further pushes it down into that unoriginal dirt we call mainstream grime music. Unfortunately, the type of people who listen to this type of music are rich white girls from Buckingham, not those that are living on the streets. It kind of makes you sound less hard when those people are your fans at this point. So moving on to number 18 now, we have Don't Wanna Know by Maroon 5 featuring Kendrick Lamar. I think this will feature on everyone's end of year worst list somewhere, because I'm yet to come across a music critic who liked this track, let alone found it bearable or anything like that. It proved that Maroon 5 aren't a group anymore, that it's just Adam Levine and a couple session musicians. The same session musicians who clearly do not feature on this track. Kendrick Lamar is even bad on here, and it sort of caps off what has been an underwhelming year for the rapper, who was on top of the world during 2014 and 2015. The obnoxious steel pan beat, the mediocre vocal melodies, and Adam Levine's subdued approach to singing on this record just makes the whole song sound like it was made when they were all very bored. Just remember, this is only number 18 on this list. So moving on to number 17, we have Frequency by Kid Cudi. When I first listened to this track, I thought, well, it's definitely going to be the worst track of the year. But when it comes to writing this list, now in December, I can actually think of 16 worse, which sort of says something. This track characterises everything Cudi has done wrong in his rap career over the last 5 years or so. The vocal performance is lazy and deflating, the lyrics are cringy and melodramatic, the mixing is terrible, the quirky beat is clunky and disjointed, and I just don't know how he found this track passable for releasing. But what annoys me even more is that he released this track the same month as he released Surfin', which was genuinely the opposite. An absolute banger which made Cudi sound like he is actually enjoying his music. But this one is just a sad attempt at another dream pop orientated track. When will people get that dream pop barely works in rap music? I thought Young Lean would have taught everyone that by now. Moving on to number 16, we have True Disaster by Tovolo. Gosh, this album sucked from start to finish. A desperate attempt at being edgy and outrageous, True Disaster is yet another awful track of Tovolo's latest album. The melodies are predictable, the song form is so bland and by the beat that you could say it's just a glorified nursery rhyme, and the lyrics are horrific. The vocal performance is pretty dull too, yet again proving what I said earlier in the year, that Tovolo is just a one-trick pony. She makes up for her lack of individualised tone by writing smutty lyrics that aren't in the least bit sexy. The track isn't empowering, it's just in a bad taste, and I could say that about any track off of this album, but I've decided to pick this one since, well, I guess it's the one most people have actually listened to. Moving on to number 15 now, and our quarter-way choice, we have one which is perhaps a little bit more controversial than the rest, and we have Work by Rihanna featuring Drake. Now, I was debating on whether to put this track on the list whatsoever. I mean, it was a commercial Goliath that really swept the charts, and people seemed to really enjoy it. But then I remembered the Pineapple Pen song also reached the charts this year, and so no one gets special treatment in my eyes. This track really blows, and it stumps me that we let it get this popular. Drake sounds like he always sounds on this track, characterless and lacking charisma, but come on, Rihanna, you've got to try harder than that. She honestly sounds bored throughout the whole track, and the whole work metaphor just sucks. It's unimaginative and so cringy, and I've yet to hear anybody actually use the term outside of the song. To build an entire track around a weak term just shows a lack of effort to me. Let's run off some lyrics, shall we? So we got work, 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 work. You see me, I be work, 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 work. You see me, dude, me dirt, 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 dirt. There's something about that work, 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 work. And that's just one half of one chorus. It's barely decipherable, let alone listenable, and you probably found it even worse with my nasally voice right now. So the charts literally mean nothing to me anymore, so yeah, this is a deserved choice, I think. Moving on to number 14, we have Setting Fires by the Chainsmokers featuring Xylo. Now, any one of the Chainsmokers' latest tracks could have been on this list, despite their clear popularity. I found their latest record absolutely insufferable, and they've shown themselves up as the most one-dimensional act of the year. Every single track of the record sounded exactly the same and followed the same stereotypes: verse, chorus, quiet chorus, extended chorus, with each chorus having a post-chorus relapse of about 8 bars of synth melody breakdown. They did this over and over again, and I picked this track as I feel this had the weakest feature on the album. No unique tones or timbres, no layering, the mid-ground is sparse, and the instrumental melodies are just so uninspiring. Nothing progresses or varies, things get louder and quieter. Using a crescendo or a diminuendo doesn't separate a section, it's just a dynamic. So don't use it 6 times per track. It's just so infuriating for me as a musician. So that's why this comes in at number 14 on the list. So now we've got lucky number 13, and it's Knockout by Bon Jovi. Now, people really haven't liked how much I've slated Bon Jovi this year, but I'm going to do it for one last time because I can. This might be the worst rock song of the decade, let alone the year. It's awful and fundamentally broken. The song form is tired, John Bon Jovi's voice is horrifically strained, clearly proving that he can't hit any of the notes anymore, and the chordal progression is so darn dull. The lyrics are outdated and cheesy, the melodies are so monotonous, and the all-round performance is terrible. The drum transitions are weak, the bridge is non-existent, and there isn't a moment of spice throughout the entire track. My main response is usually, but they're older, it's just fan service at this point. But that doesn't stop me from saying their new music is bad. But regardless of whether fans enjoy it, it is still my opinion. When you look at how bands like Black Sabbath have matured, making that excellent 13 album last year, or artists like David Bowie who released the incredible Black Star album at the turn of the year, it just proves that maturing as you grow older can actually benefit your music. Here Bon Jovi come across as a bunch of has-beens. Coming in at number 12, and another one that's going to feature on a lot of people's end-of-year lists, No by Meghan Trainor. Now, has Meghan Trainor released a good song yet? Well, certainly not this year anyway. Last year, I couldn't imagine me sitting here right now saying to you that I think Meghan sounded better when she went down the doo-wop route, but in all honesty, she kind of did. This is a whiny, self-righteous track that proves why her ego vastly outweighs her morals. The melodies are unimaginative, the instrumentation is yawn-inducing, and Meghan's lyrics are so bad as usual. Considering this track came out a whole breadth of time ago, before I even started the site, it says something that still makes my blood boil to this day. You can't write tracks like this and Dear Future Husband, which is blatant plagiarism of Ollie Murs' track Dance With Thee Tonight, by the way, being so against males and relationships, then feature on a track with Charlie Puth singing about how you want to get it on all the time. Make up your mind on where your morals sit. Yeah, so now we've got number 11, and it's My Way by Calvin Harris. He says the word way 75 times during this 4-minute runtime. You get the point. So moving on to number 10, we have Drum by Mo. Hugely disappointing track from an artist I was expecting so much more from. It's an incomplete, rushed mess of a track with poor mixing, little to no musicality, and a terrible hook. The whole beat of your drum thing is nearly as bad as the whole work thing for being totally exhausted, and for a singer like this to stoop that low is really quite underwhelming. The song is thin, weak, lacking impact, and is just genuinely pointless. Fans of the artist didn't like this song. The song isn't as commercially profitable as prior efforts, and it's a blemish on her discography. The track hence has no point existing, and obviously proves why it's landed on this list in the 10th position. So moving on to number 9, we have Christmas Trees by Major Lazer and Protégé, because it just wouldn't feel like Christmas unless a British bloke was moaning about Christmas music. Brand new track for this placement, and it's coming from an act who I've been hugely disappointed by all year too. That act being Major Lazer. It's a Christmas song that barely mentions Christmas, but instead revolves around how much they like weed. Great, we get it, you like drugs, and you know what, that's cool, you do you. But don't sing it at me or beat it at me, especially during the Christmas period. Protégé adds nothing to this track, unfortunately, and that's what's so annoying about this song, is that it could have been pretty good if they actually stuck to the reggae elements. There's a good reggae track in here, but instead we've got some of that juicy pop reggae beat crap which we've been full of this year. Possibly one of the worst Christmas songs of all time, so it's pretty much deserving of a high ranking on this list. So at number 8, we have Ain't My Fault by Zara Larsson. Now, I've been very critical of Zara all year, but I really don't feel like the criticism was unjust. Her music has just sucked all year. Every single track consists of a nursery rhyme form with a hook that is just 3 words long, usually the title, with a post-chorus synth breakdown. She's like the Chainsmokers, but with the same vocals on every single track. She rips off her own prior singles by just rehashing them in a different key. This song in particular is a very difficult listen, as again she tries to be edgy and sexy, but instead comes across as needy and a little bit bitchy. Her vocal tone and capabilities aren't particularly astonishing either, as she sounds pretty much replaceable on every track she has featured on this year, as well as she's produced herself. I just have no pull to listen to her as a casual consumer, and I think that's the worst part of this song. So moving on to number 7, we have Work From Home by Fifth Harmony. Now, I heard Fifth Harmony's fan base were voted the most aggressive or the most harsh of any fan base this year, so in that case, Now this song is like Rihanna's track, but even worse. It takes the exact same hook/syllabic progression that Rihanna used in her track and changes it to be at a crotchet on the beat. It's woefully unoriginal, it again uses terminology that isn't popular and or clever, and the beat is just pathetic. You don't need 5 singers on this track, you scarcely need 1. Each singer sounds/dramatizes their notes exactly the same. They never actually sing in harmony with each other, and instead, or just all sing along together at the same note. They don't even bother to create homophonic melodies melodies to change things up. This is another one of those songs that infuriates me rather than just leaving me pleased. So yeah, the Little Mix or / American Little Mix remake have not impressed me again this year. At number 6, we have Hands Free by Keke Palmer. This song, like much of her album / EP, is almost laughably bad. The whole emotional speech thing she has at the start of it is fine, it's passable. But then to kick in with these Vine-like air horns and sing a track about sex is just funny. I mean, it's not good at all, but it can still be funny. Keke has a really limp voice that is barely strong enough to carry this single-tone reggae track, and it really shows. The constant use of air horns stopped being funny around the midway mark when she's used them for about the 6th or 7th time, and they start to get really annoying. The progressions never change, the melodies never vary, the lyrics are horrifically bad, and the song just isn't worth your time. So yeah, steer clear from this one. Moving on to number 5, we have When I Get Back from The Neighborhood featuring G-Eazy. I have no idea what they were thinking when making this track, but it clearly wasn't that much. The fallen indie group known as The Neighborhood have put out a fair few clangers this year, and this is by far the worst of them. The lyrics yet again are all about weed and moving back to California, and the whole time the singer is desperately trying to sound like The Weeknd. The song is completely static, nothing changes, and no roots are explored. It's just verse and chorus, rinse and repeat, and it's so dull. The dream pop backtrack is woefully mixed and lacks all life altogether. G-Eazy is the only saving grace on this track, putting in a fairly substandard verse towards the end, and it says something like that is your saving grace of the track. Yeah, bad track, don't recommend it. Moving on to number 4 here, we have Bad Things by Machine Gun Kelly featuring Camila Cabello, and I hope that's how you pronounce her name. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce it right. See, I didn't think that this track would even make this list, but I just re-listened to it back about a couple of days ago or so, and oh my goodness did I let this one in easy the first time. This song is bad, like really, really bad. Machine Gun Kelly is as monotone and lifeless as usual, putting in 2 terrible verses on this thing, and Camila sounds so much worse than I remember on the re-listen. The key / chordal change on the tail end of the chorus causes her to go dreadfully out of tune towards the end of her mediocre hooks. The lyrics are so bad, especially in the chorus, but then I didn't expect much going into it, so that's probably why I'm not too mad about it. But yeah, I definitely don't recommend that you listen to this one and that you steer clear of this trash heap. Yeah, I said it. So moving on to number 3, in our bronze medal position, we have Check On Me by Future and Fabulous. It's almost shocking that we have 2 songs worse than this on this list. I was stuck on whether I wanted Campaign or this track on the list, but then I thought Ty Dolla $ign isn't too bad on Campaign, and that was enough to change my mind. This song is fundamentally broken in every way. The production is broken, the lyrics are nonsensical, and the performances are just as terrible as usual. There is far too much auto-tune on Future's voice, as it always is, and he just sounds awful. He's barely on the beat and he's undecipherable. Everyone gave 7K the God stick when he used all that auto-tune, but I'd argue that this is even worse. You're meant to be a professional rapper, and this is just inexcusable. So here at number 2, we have 715 Creaks by Bon Iver. This is pretty controversial, I know, but this is considered a song by the masses, so I must judge it as one. From my point of view, this isn't a song. It's just someone singing through autotune, unedited, but because Bon Iver made the instrument that Justin sang through, it's suddenly considered great and artistic. Look, if I made something that sounded like a guitar and played something really bad or rubbish on it, would you consider me a genius too? No, you consider me a pointless idiot. This track is awful, it's nonsensical, it's pointless, it's difficult to listen to, and it's so lazy, so immensely lazy. If any other artist did this, you'd see them as a waste of time, but because Bon Iver has had cracking records in the past, which I have to agree with, I've loved their prior work, you can let them off? No, this experiment didn't work, and it's the second worst song of the year. And yeah, you heard that right, a song that isn't even really a song and can't really be considered a song is still not the worst song of the year. That honour is coming to the following artist. So here at number 1, in our golden position, in our ultimate placement, we have a track which is perhaps a political tribute to the political division we've had this year globally, as well as the American election. And we have a track which is ever so eloquently named, I mean so well named. We have Trump by A$AP Ty. To anyone who's read / watched this review here on the site, as well as the YouTube channel, it hardly comes as any surprise that the track is by far my worst of the year. It's a complete black hole of a runtime, which I actually felt stupider listening to. I'd moan about the lyrics, but I could barely understand them because of the way he shouted them at me. He's had some great source material to ride off of, but he's screwed it up really, and I think that's the real tragedy here. We've had some terrible politically charged songs throughout the years, and this has to be the worst. It's the first one to come out after the election result, and it's such a missed opportunity quality. The incessant use of terrible phrasing and the unintelligible terminology just makes me lost for words. It's been a month since this song has come out, and I'm still lost for words. The production is terrible, as you can guess, and the song is just the same 30 seconds, and it's just on repeat with different lyrics. I mean, nothing changes throughout the whole song. It's just... yeah, that was actually a better impersonation than I think he could do of himself for that track. So yeah, it's a very, very difficult track to listen to, and I don't recommend you listen to this one, as you could probably tell, because it's the #1 worst track of the year. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, subscribe to see more, and I'll come out with our best songs list soon. I'll see you around next time. Bye-bye.